lots of stuff going on in the last couple of years, and you start wondering about disclosure and alien disclosure, right?
Yes.
And actually, could 2021 actually be the year of alien disclosure? Right? That's my question. Now, it sounds mad because the answer, if we're hand on heart, is no. But not even a bit.
Well, no, like we said before, it's be very, very unlikely that the government comes out and just suddenly does a complete disclosure and goes, "Oh, we've been lying to you for the last 70 years. Here's all the truth, nothing redacted." It's just not going to happen. They might slowly drip feed us it, but one big event.
No, it seems unlikely to. But there does seem to be a change in like attitude or change of footing in the last couple of months. Right, we've had the CIA documents that have been dumped on the Black Vault website in the last literally few days. 2 million pages, 700 files. It's the CIA say it's everything they've got on UFOs. Right, the Black Vault guy got it through a Freedom of Information Act. Done a video on it. So we get these 2 million dumps. Now I love that, and everyone said, "Oh, it's redacted to hell." But I love it when the CIA do things like this because the more they release, the more likely it is, or the bigger the possibility is that they might make a mistake.
Yes.
And I always think about like Operation Northwood when they dumped all that information about their plans to kill Castro and to have terror attacks on American soil to give them an excuse to invade Cuba. They released that thinking, well, we didn't do it, so they just released it sort of as part of the big data dump they were doing that thing as by mistake sort of thing. And it was only when then people kicked off and went, "What, you were doing what?" that they went, "Oh, we probably should have redacted some of that." Do you know what I mean? But they did it by mistake. That's my point.
Yes.
So the more they release,
the more likely they are to make mistakes because humans make errors, and the more that they release, the more errors there are potentially there. Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
Yeah. It also gives us more stuff to like cross-reference and things as well. It gives us the more stuff they give us, the more stuff we can then dig into. And I generally think they thought, well, we'll give them 2 million pages, they won't read that. And then there's like 200,000 UFO geeks going, "Yeah, we will. We'll read every damn word."
Divide the work.
Yeah, exactly. You know? So, but then a little just before that, we had this 180 days thing. So they did the Trump signed in the COVID relief fund, $2 trillion, which amused the hell out of me because they're all there signing in the COVID relief fund, and they're all sharing pens. You know, it's like Trump's there signing it. None of them are socially distancing. They're all sharing pens and doing everything. I'm like, at least none of them wearing masks, because at least pretend. But anyway, off topic. They do this sign and release fund.
Rules aren't for the elite, are they?
Well, he's had it once. You think he'd? I know he's a superhero,
kind of attitude, isn't it? They kind of think that they're above the normal society, just in general, don't they? I suppose politicians are really puppets of corporations, but yeah.
Well, he's on his way out now, anyway. I'm going to come back to Trump in a minute though, because it is interesting. But so this 180 days thing, they did the COVID relief fund, and the way it works in America is that when they put a new law through, it then goes through all these committees, and committees can dump stuff onto the law. So it's a big practice in America that when a big bill like this goes through, to get it through, people will go, "Well, I'll agree with it as long as you slap this amendment on," sort of thing. And then sort of you get a lot of little backdoor laws that way. And they did it this way. The Senate Intelligence Committee, which is in charge of overseeing all the federal agencies, basically said, "Yeah, okay, we'll back it, but we want to put this committee amendment in." And a committee amendment run by, was really pushed by Marco Rubio, who is a Republican, and he talks a lot about UFOs and aliens and things. He doesn't talk about aliens as much, but he says, stuff keeps getting seen. I want to know what it is. That is basically his standpoint. So they put in this amendment that basically said they want a report from all of the federal agencies on what they know about UFOs, and most importantly, what conclusions they've then made. And they've got 180 days to do it. And I'm like, get in.
Which is brilliant, and I like the fact that they snuck this in on the COVID relief bill, because they knew that they had to pass the COVID relief bill. So sneaking in other things that they've probably been trying to put into other bills but have faced severe opposition against in previous bills, because of the fact that most of the space industry is probably private business through Area 51 through your defence
Hmm.
contractors, and they have some of the biggest lobbying of politicians and Congress. They've probably managed to lobby away this in
Yeah,
previous bills, but this time I don't think they would have been able to lobby it away because the whole
exactly.
purpose
It's
of the bill
completely
was
backdoor.
required, and
Yeah.
they've completely backdoored it. So I think they've done something very clever here and crafty they've probably been trying to do for decades.
Yeah, and I think actually genuinely a bill to do this or an order to do this normally would get no support. But this way, like you said, it's a bill they cannot afford to fail. So and they've just tacked it on at the back without telling anyone, sort of thing.
It's the
Brilliant.
politicians being a bit quite clever and possibly getting one over on the corporations for a change,
For once,
perhaps.
yeah.
For once, yeah.
Yeah. But no, there is no guarantee, as far as I'm aware, that we're going to get to see this report.
No.
But Marco Rubio does seem to be pushing this, and he is very vocal about it. So I think it'd be quite difficult for us not to get something out of it. But there are no guarantees we're going to see it. But if we were to see it, and then we could compare what they're saying to these CIA documents we've got, that could be good. I mean, that could really
Yeah.
tell us something interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah, but definitely. Um, I think that if they did release everything, that the truth would be so amazing.
Yeah,
There'd just be so much, I kind of like, I think it'd be almost like, supposedly EBE1 would be like Paul, the film Paul, and there probably
yeah,
was
yeah,
yeah. I've just got this image of it all being like, like it's played out and they've hidden it all
yeah.
really well for 70 years and they've really been having contact with loads of different species, and that's what I'd like to
Yeah.
believe. There's not necessarily
I'd
too much
like to
evidence
believe
of
that, but
this, but
well, if we ask one question, right?
yeah, go on.
So if we talk about Trump, then right, really quickly, obviously on his way out, we're not going to have to talk about this man for much longer because he's going to be in prison, and whatever you think about that, the Trump supporters they think he's lost his battle against deep state. I think there never was a battle against deep state, but either way, some people think he genuinely was the driving force behind this. Um, I think we'll find out about that very shortly because if Biden comes in and all this stuff gets shut down, then I think we'll know that maybe Trump was actually doing what he
Yeah,
said he was going to do.
I'd agree. It all depends on
Um,
what Biden does next, whether Biden continues with what he started
hmm,
or whether he shuts it all down. Oh, yeah, I agree.
I think it'd be interesting, but I do agree with the Trump supporters on that though. There has been a definite change in sort of philosophy of last few years, or change of step from the American government. We've got the Tic Tac videos and the Nimitz videos. They
Mm.
released these 3 videos, declassified, and the Pentagon have even come out and said we've got a task force that are investigating it to see what it was, and we're going to tell you, we're going to release the report when it's done. So we're going to find out what these things are. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
But when you've been lying to the public and creating disinformation, probably through the CIA for 70 years since the Roswell and other crashes in the 40s and 50s, it's not difficult, is it, to really sort of think how people have grown very short of the lie. And if you probably canvass most of the population in America, I imagine that more than 50% of people believe that they're being lied to about aliens and that there's a cover up
Yeah,
by the American government anyway. So once they've drip fed you enough information and that balance has shifted where they know that the majority of the population know they've been being lied to, it's almost like there is no point in pursuing the lie any further because
yeah,
you can't, you're not going to sway that back again.
no,
It's only going to keep continuing to, more and more of the population
yeah.
realizing.
It's only going to increase. Yeah.
Yes,
Well, talking about Trump as well. I mean, you got that Israeli. I'm going to have to say I'm going to have to say a foreign person's name.
need a hand.
Hey, yes, Hamashed. Luckily, he's not Chinese or Japanese or anything. That's where we have real problems in it. But Hamashed used to be the chief of the Space Intelligence Agency for Israel.
Hmm.
I genuinely had to Google that Israel has a space agency. Like, no, they haven't. They have.
How long
It's
ago was
like,
this? Was that under
he's
Mahmoud
just released a
Ahmadinejad?
book. Yeah, no, it was only a couple of months ago.
Oh,
He's
okay.
wrote a book basically. He was the I've got all the details on the video I did, but it was interesting that he came out. One of the things he said was, "We're in contact with aliens. We've got a Mars base. All this stuff that a lot of John Lee and stuff talks about. He was confirming sort of thing. But excuse me. one of the things he said was we were actually really, really close to disclosure before COVID. Trump was really pushing for it, and sort
And
of COVID kind of scuppered it all because a lot of things, obviously, it changed distraction. It was a massive distraction, but also Trump started to lose a lot of his sort of political punch, and
and
that it
scuppered
made
it,
him look bad,
yeah,
basically.
and it
So
probably scuppered his re-election prospects
yeah,
as well. The whole COVID situation, which is why I think when COVID first was announced, Trump was almost like, well, this is almost like been purposefully released
yeah, to
to
screw me.
stop, to screw me, to stop me with the
Mm,
UFO disclosure and to stop my re-election. And
yeah,
the way it's all played out, and now he's lost the election and Biden's in, and maybe there was some kind of like deep state trying to push
yeah,
him out, doing everything they can to get rid of him. It does
yeah.
seem that's possible.
It's one of those things I don't believe, and I don't. I'll put my hand up and say I don't like Trump. I think he's an idiot. I think he's an egomaniac, and all that Trump actually cares about is Trump.
Hmm.
But when you logically look at it, you're like, well, that makes sense, and that makes sense, and there has been a big. I don't get me wrong. I don't think COVID was created just to get rid of Trump. I'm not saying that even the slightest. Um, but it could have been something that was used to get rid of Trump. On the COVID thing, by the way, have you seen that WHO scientists have gone into Wuhan, the World Health Organization scientists, to investigate
Oh,
where
what
the,
again?
the virus came
They've
from?
just gone
Now,
back,
this
haven't
is the
they?
first time they've no, this is the first time they've actually been allowed in. They tried before, never actually went. So it's been over a year. Now they're going to go and have a look.
Well, it's
But
been
the
9 months.
Chinese are making it really hard for them. But anyway, that's a,
Yeah. It's almost like they've got something to hide.
yeah, like they made it. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to edit that out now. What a pain in the ass. Um, but it does make you start thinking that maybe Trump's got a point. But it's something that I don't believe, and I'd have to see proof to go. But if you just wonder that maybe Trump was pushing a lot of this stuff. Maybe he was. I mean, even if in my head, he was watching Fox News, and Tucker Carlson was talking about it,
Mm.
and he thought, "Went, oh, I want to find out if that's true or not." And the people in actual power went, "Oh, for God's sake, he's talking about that crap again. Okay, we do need to get rid of him now. He was a joke, and it's gone too far." And I can actually see that. That could be true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe. It is possible. I wouldn't say it's outside the realms of possibility. Yeah. Don't forget, publicly, you're not going to see very much, even if he's pushing some of these agendas behind the scenes very heavily.
mm,
Publicly, they still might. You might. You know what I mean? It's only when something like that happens, when they sign something in as an amendment to the COVID bill, that gives
yeah,
180 days to report back. Yeah, from every
yeah,
agency. It's only when something like that happens that it will come into the public domain. He may have been pushing for that for 3 years before he managed to. You know what I mean? He might
yeah.
have been trying to sneak it in other bills, or you'd have to go back and look
It
through
could have
the
been.
entire history under Trump to
I
really.
mean, even though he signed that bill into law, a lot of Trump supporters have gone, look what he's doing, he's trying to push disclosure. And I'm like, well, not really. I mean, it's Marco Rubio, who is a Republican, but it's Marco Rubio that's really pushed this and got it in. Trump was signing the COVID relief fund into law. This was just a side note. I don't know how much credit you can give Trump for putting this into law, is my point.
Yeah, that's a fair point as well. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't. I don't know. Has he spoken openly about it? I don't know, to be honest.
Once or twice. Yes, I'll put a couple of little videos where he's been asked by politicians about it. Oh, but sorry, when he's been asked in newscasts about it.
Hmm.
And he sort of says he doesn't particularly believe in it himself, but
Yeah, I'd
you
seen the
know,
one from where he's signing it, where he says he doesn't particularly, but believe in it himself when he's talking to the reporter after I think just after he signed it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but he says you'll be the first to know if we do
yeah, you'll
find
be the
out.
first to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think it's definitely true to say though, in the last few years, there's been a huge increase in public interest and public acceptance of the possibility of UFOs. Do you remember the blimp incident a couple of months ago when everyone saw the it was the Dunlop blimp, the Dunlop
Hmm.
blimp, the Goodyear blimp. So yeah, loads of people saw the Goodyear blimp off in the distance, and it looked weird. It looked like a UFO, and it looked like it was rotating because they've got the big awning on the side with the like the advert,
Hmm.
so it looked like it was going round and round. And there's loads of people on the side of the road going, look, there's a UFO, there's a UFO, and they're filming it, and they're all going, whoa, this is amazing. And it like, clogged up the motorway. People just stopped on the motorway and were like, whoa, sort of thing. And then it turned out, obviously, it was the Goodyear blimp, and everyone felt a bit silly. For me, though, the interesting part of that was that so many people just stopped, and instead of freaking out and started bashing each other over the heads with bats or something, or setting fire to each other, or I don't know what the government think would happen if they did tell us about aliens. Nobody did that. Everyone just stood there and went, "Whoa, how cool is this?" Sort of thing. Well, look, we're seeing a UFO.
We have had three generations now of what's the word? Of subliminal messaging about aliens through film and media, and that's been slowly drip feeding us the truth so that we don't freak out if we do meet another humanoid species. So after three generations of pretty much anybody post like the flying saucer crashes of the 40s and 50s is pretty much very old or dead now, aren't they? It's getting to that point. So there's nobody in living memory, of before all these crashes now. So it's almost like we've been desensitized to it for long enough that people know that they've been lied to.
Yeah. So maybe, it's becoming normal in our lives, and that will allow disclosure to happen, or is it all one big trap moving towards Bluebeam? And
well, there is that thing. Dr. Carol Rosin, the lady that works at NASA, that used to work with Werner von Braun, said that Werner von Braun told her that the first they were going to use religious extremism as a method to continue the war machine, and then eventually the end goal was to then release like all the information about aliens and then fake an alien invasion when it's really reproduction alien vehicles that governments of this planet have been reverse engineering and creating, and it won't really be an alien invasion. It would just be a fake alien invasion to put in a one world government. That's supposedly, and that was what Werner von Braun told Dr. Carol Rosin before he died.
Yeah. And Reagan talked about it in front of the UN committee one day, saying that if an alien invasion ever happened, that he believes the world would come together to fight off the threat.
Yeah.
Maybe when we're seeing the Tic Tac videos, we're seeing vehicles or vessels that are designed for that. So maybe this is all just one big trap, and that
to move us into one world government controlled by the ruling elite countryless banking class.
Yeah. And on the back of a massive pandemic, you know what I mean? We psychologically, humanity's been battered in the last 12 months. Economically, we've been battered. I see David Icke talking about that the pandemic's just there to wipe out small businesses. If that was the plan, it's working. A lot of big businesses are using their large cash reserves that they've been holding on to since the last banking crisis, because none of them wanted to invest, or that was the thing. So all these big multinationals have been holding massive cash reserves that they're now using to buy or they will be pushing into where all these small businesses used to be. If these people are right, and people like David Icke are right, is it a perfect storm? Are we actually getting towards this?
Maybe. Never. Well, governments never waste a good crisis. So they're all probably rubbing their hands together at all these secretive laws that they've passed as amendments to other bills and pushed through, and taking your freedoms away for the idea of you being a bit more safe and secure once again. But you're not really that much more safe or secure by having your freedoms taken away. It's just that they're using that as an excuse to take more of your freedoms away. It'd be interesting to see whether once we've got through this pandemic and all the vaccinations, whether they reverse all of the COVID laws that they've brought in to keep people in lockdown and stop people going out for anything but
emergency
essential
powers.
I want to see if they
themselves.
Redacted would be the key word there. Let's see if they redact the emergency powers that they've put into law.
They're good at redacting everything else. Have you seen some of the documents from the CIA dump? The one literally says, Morocco, UFO, I'd like to investigate on an A4 sheet of paper, and the rest of it is black.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah, it's just like, no, oh, for God's sake. Right, last question for you then. If all the Project Blue Beam thing is not true and new world government, and this is actually aliens potentially, are we getting to a point, do you think, where we actually don't need government for disclosure anymore? Whenever we talk about alien disclosure, we always talk about the government telling us that aliens exist or don't exist, or the CIA releasing documents. Are we getting to a point where we don't need that anymore, or it doesn't matter?
Well, yeah. When you've been lied to for that long and public persuasion's flipped over, where more than 50% of the population think that they've been lied to by the government and the truth's the exact opposite. You don't. Why do you need them? You've made your own. What's the word? You come to your own belief or your own understanding from the volume of information that you've researched yourself online. And yes, there are, like we've said before, 95% of UFO sightings are misidentification of flying vehicles that we've produced, or aerial phenomenon, or wet atmospheric phenomenon, or this, that, the other. But there is that 5% that are metallic objects traveling at incredible speeds. There's just no argument anymore. And when you get the Pentagon releasing those 3 videos, the Tic Tac videos, where they're almost corroborating that they've been lying to us.
Yeah.
You don't, so I don't think they can then reverse that now and then come back and just go, actually, no, nothing happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I think we're at that point with the internet, with the groups that we created, with the communication that we now have, that we actually got to a point where disclosure, if there is government disclosure, it'll just be them underlining what's already happened. It'll get to a point where it's too late, and we'll start seeing it on the news and whatever else. Well, if the mainstream media allow it, and I just feel like we're getting to a point where talking about disclosure from a government point of view is irrelevant.
Yeah, I almost think it is irrelevant. But I think we're there. I think the time, enough time has elapsed for them now to feel confident that was it the Brookings Institute report, the one that said in the 50s that they shouldn't release anything about any artifacts or anything they find from civilizations from other cultures, if they do find anything on other planets in the solar system. Well, they've given it, we said, nearly 3 generations now of 25 years generation, and pretty much anybody that, I think that's enough time for people to change, and we have.
Yeah, and I don't think the government has the control over the information like they used to either. Not with the internet, not with.
No.
If Roswell happened today, with everybody with phones in their pockets and things like that, I think we'd know what it was. We'd know what happened.
Yes.
There wouldn't be a secret. There wouldn't be a mystery.
There's too much digital media in today's world and the internet for the CIA to go around and confiscate all smartphone videos of an incident, especially if it's seen by hundreds or even thousands of people. It's logistically a nightmare. They wouldn't be able to do it.
It'd be on Facebook before they even knew what was happening.
Which is why stuff's been slipping through the net for many years, and why they're probably coming around to the realization now that there's no point lying, because we're lying to less than half the population that's still believing this anyway.
Yeah, and they're going to get caught in the lies as well. But yeah, there you go then. So disclosure 2021, maybe. I think
maybe
2021 has got to, because it's got it up 2020. I mean, 2020 at the moment is generally considered to be like the worst year for like since World War II or something. I mean, it's up there in the weirdest, stupidest year that everyone hates. 2021 is going to be jealously going, now I'm going to do one up on you.
Apart from Jeff Bezos, I imagine Jeff Bezos has like doubled his net worth or something, and so he's probably had the best year ever.
Yeah. Now
which is weird.
He liked 2020. He really likes the 20.
And he's probably hoping 2021 is going to be exactly the same.
More of the same, please.